welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into your sources on what's probably the most intense global industrial fight right now. The race for EV dominance, and specifically, the incredible rise of BYD.
Yeah, it's a fascinating battleground.
And you sent over some great material. What really jumps out almost immediately is this perception gap. It's kind of amazing.
You mean how some folks are still talking about Chinese automakers?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's still 2010, journalists, even some execs looking down on them, thinking they're just making cheap copies.
It's like a form of industrial denial, really, because the reality on the ground has shifted so fast.
Totally. It's 2025 now, and BYD isn't just a Chinese manufacturer, they're the leading one. They're selling more new energy vehicles, that's battery electrics and plug-in hybrids globally than anyone else.
And the scale behind that is just staggering.
Get this, over 100,000 engineers.
Yeah,
That's the biggest R&D department of any car company on the planet.
right. This isn't just incremental growth. It's a fundamental shift, a declaration of, well, industrial power.
It changes the whole global supply chain balance.
Absolutely. And that kind of investment, that scale, it doesn't just build cars, it builds disruption. Serious disruption the rest of the world is only just starting to really wrestle with.
Okay, so let's unpack this properly. Our mission here is to figure out the how. What are the specific strategies behind this dominance? And maybe more importantly, what's the actual quality like? Because that seems to be what's forcing everyone to reassess.
Yeah, the quality argument is key.
Let's start right there. The product quality shock. The sources you shared mentioned journalists going into test drives, deeply skeptical.
Expecting the worst sometimes.
And then
Yeah.
that skepticism just evaporates after a few miles. What's triggering that aha moment? What are they actually experiencing?
Well, it boils down to serious engineering and really impressive attention to detail. The stories from European journalists are quite telling.
Give us an example.
Okay, take the Zeekr 7X. It was described not just as, good enough, but as one of the best midsize SUVs out there.
One of the best.
Yeah. Superior build quality. Reminded reporters of Volvo, which is high praise, but maybe even a step above in some ways.
Whoa, hang on. Superior to established Western brands. That's
Yeah.
a huge claim. What backs that up besides just, horsepower numbers?
It's often the small things that reveal the bigger picture, like the electric doors on the Zeekr.
The doors.
Yeah. Reporters specifically noted they were faster, more precise, just more elegant, frankly, than the ones on a super expensive flagship like the BMW i7.
Huh. That speaks volumes about R&D focus, doesn't it?
Ah.
Applying it to everyday user experience, not just raw specs.
Exactly. It shows they're not just aiming to catch up. In some areas, they're actually pushing past the incumbents on these finer engineering points.
Okay, so it's not just about matching. It's about surpassing.
In certain aspects, yes. And crucially, this quality isn't just reserved for the top-end models. Look at something like the Dolphin Surge.
Ah, yes, the entry-level hit.
Right. It's a compact city car, but reviewers mentioned surprisingly fun, agile handling, and the styling, get this, it's by the same guy who designed the Lamborghini Urus.
No way.
Yeah, so it has this kind of unexpected, sporty look for a small car. Combine that with a price-to-equipment ratio that's just really hard to beat. That's gold in markets like Europe or Asia where city cars are huge.
Okay, but the real torture test is always a long drive, right? The sources mentioned a long-distance run in the BYD Seal. Over 600 miles in one day.
965 kilometers, yeah. That's enough time to find every single flaw, or, fall in love.
And the verdict.
Overwhelmingly positive, actually. The journalists testing it found the stability excellent. Suspensions were firm, controlled. They called it a perfectly Western-style handling, which you need. The car has 523 horsepower and massive torque.
But the real kicker, the punchline, was the direct comparison they made.
Ah, yes. The value proposition.
The sources said point blank, the Seal's build quality is superior to Western rivals in the same class.
And they drove it against an Audi A6 e-tron.
Which costs about double the price.
Right, for less power, and according to the reports, a very similar, maybe even less impressive interior experience.
So that's the disruption element right there.
Absolutely. The Seal and cars like it, they just change the whole conversation. It forces people to drop that old Chinese cars are just cheap narrative. BYD is competing on quality, on performance, across the board.
Okay, but that level of quality and performance, at that price point, it seems almost impossible unless you understand how they're building them.
Exactly. Which brings us to their operational blueprint. Vertical integration. This is the absolute core of their strategy. It's how they achieve the scale and that that shocking cost advantage.
So what does that actually mean, vertical integration at BYD scale?
It means they control almost the entire value chain. It starts literally underground. They're not just buying materials on the open market.
They own the source.
They're acquiring stakes in mining companies, securing mineral rights. Like those two plots they just got in Brazil's big lithium region, the Jequitinhonha Valley, guarantees supply, stabilizes pricing.
So they control the raw stuff, and
Then they control the processing. Their own subsidiary, FinDreams, refines that lithium into LFP, lithium iron phosphate.
Okay, LFP. That's the heart of their battery tech, right? The blade battery.
Precisely. LFP chemistry is inherently cheaper than the nickel cobalt stuff most others use. And because they make it all in-house, the cost savings are massive. Plus, it's safer, much more resistant to thermal runaway fires.
Let's pause on the battery innovation, though. This new 10C blade battery. The ultra-fast charging claim is wild, 400 kilometers in 5 minutes. How are they doing that?
Well, it's a different focus from, say, Tesla. Tesla went all in on optimizing their cylindrical 4680 cells for energy density and weight. BYD, on the other hand, seems to have prioritized charge speed above all else for this generation.
And that 5-minute charge obliterates range anxiety for a lot of people.
It certainly tackles it head-on compared to Tesla's current best, maybe 270 kilometers in 15 minutes. It's a significant leap, at least in charging speed.
And this control extends beyond batteries into the digital stuff too, chips.
Oh, yeah. That was incredibly prescient. They set up BYD Semiconductor way back in 2004.
2004, before EVs were even mainstream.
Exactly. So now they make their own chips for critical systems, battery management, motor controllers, the smart cockpit stuff. It makes them far less vulnerable to the global chip shortages that have crippled so many other automakers recently.
Okay, so you control the mines, the refining, the batteries, the chips.
Mm-hmm.
That translates directly into lower prices.
Absolutely. That's how you get models like the Dolphin or the little Seagull undercutting comparable EVs, even Tesla, by 30, sometimes 50%. It's mass market manufacturing enabled by total vertical control.
And it doesn't stop at the factory gate either, does it?
Oh, logistics too. They figured out they need to control shipping to manage this global volume efficiently and, navigate trade issues. So they're building their own fleet of car-carrying ships.
Like the BYD Shenzhen. Carries over 9,000 cars.
Yeah, it's end-to-end control. Materials, battery chips, factory ship, you control the margins at every single step.
And the result is, well, market domination, basically. BYD blew past Tesla in global EV market share late last year, held the lead into early 2025. Over 1 million NEVs sold.
And the revenue figures reflect that now, too. BYD hit $107 billion annually, just edging out Tesla's $97.7 billion.
But that kind of success inevitably attracts friction, right? Geopolitics, regulations.
For sure. That's the next chapter. Look at Brazil. BYD dominates there, like 70% of the EV market, but Brazil's raising import tariffs, aiming for 35% by 2026.
So how does BYD navigate that?
Localization. They're building plants in Brazil, specifically SKD plants semi-knockdown.
Ah, so they import kits and assemble locally to avoid the highest tariffs.
Exactly. Like the new plant in Bahia. It gets them closer to the market and sidesteps some of those taxes. It's crucial for their global strategy.
But it's not always smooth sailing. Didn't they have issues in Mexico?
Yeah, geopolitical headwinds seem to have stalled their big plans for a 150,000 unit factory there, at least for now.
Okay, so Brazil is localization. What about Southeast Asia? That market's booming.
Same strategy, different acronym. They're investing over $1 billion in CKD, completely knocked down plants in Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam.
Serving that huge 20% annual growth.
Right, and also potentially bypassing future tariffs, maybe even from the EU down the line. But they need these international markets because things are getting brutal at home.
The price wars in China.
Intense. BYD slashed prices on loads of models, like 34% on average across 22 models. That squeezes their margins way down, maybe 10-15% growth, so global sales are essential to offset that.
Which brings us to the biggest hurdle, Europe. The EU's new tariffs. BYD got hit with 17.4%.
Yeah, the countervailing duties, it's a significant barrier.
So what's their play in Europe now? Just absorb the cost?
Not quite. It looks like a pivot. First, they're pushing more upmarket, launching their premium Denza brands starting in Milan, going for higher margin sales.
Okay, premiumization. Makes sense.
And second, crucially, they're leaning much more heavily on their plug-in hybrid models in Europe.
Ah, because the PHEVs aren't hit as hard by the EV-focused tariffs.
Exactly. It gives them another path to maintain volume and presence while the BEV tariff situation plays out. It's a pretty sophisticated response.
So stepping back from the individual markets, this really feels like more than just two companies selling cars. It's like a clash of fundamental
Yeah,
philosophies.
we talked about it like Apple versus Android, right? Tesla as the curated software-driven experience and BYD as the open, hardware-focused, accessible option.
How does that play out in who they're trying to sell to?
Well, Tesla clearly targets the tech-savvy, often premium buyer. People drawn to the brand, the software updates, the promise of FSD, loyalty is high.
Like Apple users.
Kinda, yeah. Whereas BYD seems laser-focused on the first-time EV buyer,
Hmm.
middle-income folks, people for whom affordability is maybe the biggest factor. And they offer a huge range of choices: BEVs, PHEVs, different sizes.
That price gap really tells the story. The cheapest Tesla, the Model 3, still around 38,000 US.
Right. A significant purchase.
But BYD's cheapest, the Siegel City car, it starts at just 12,000 US.
12,000. I mean, that's not just competitive. That opens up electric mobility to a whole new segment of the global population, especially in developing markets. It's a totally different approach aimed at mass adoption.
And their approaches to autonomy seem to reflect this difference too.
Definitely. Tesla is all in on vision, software. It's a Dojo supercomputer, constantly pushing towards level 4 via updates. It's a software play.
While BYD,
BYD leverages its hardware strength. They're integrating sensors like LiDAR and radar, using high-def maps, systems like DiPilot 300 or God's Eye. They're aiming for robust Level 3 support in their higher-end models now. It feels more like a hardware-first pathway to autonomy.
so bringing it back to the buyer, especially someone maybe still on the fence about EVs, what does this clash mean for them?
It means BYD's strategy directly tackles the biggest adoption hurdles: price and range anxiety. Offering lots of affordable options, including plug-in hybrids for markets where charging isn't great yet, that removes major barriers.
Whereas Tesla relies more on its software polish, its brand cachet, and crucially, its supercharger network advantage.
Exactly. Two very different value propositions, both proving incredibly successful on a global scale.
So the EV race right now, it's really being shaped by these two giants.
Yeah.
Tesla, the digital disruptor, the software, and brand leader.
And BYD, the master of vertical integration, the champion of battery cost and manufacturing scale.
They're playing different games,
Mm-hmm.
but both are undeniably changing the automotive world.
And looking ahead, they're both positioning for the next big shift, aren't they? Autonomous fleet management, mobility as a service.
Which leads the big question, maybe for you, the listener, to ponder. When that shift happens, when it's less about personal car ownership and more about shared autonomous fleets,
Mm.
whose advantage will matter more?
Will it be BYD's deep structural advantage, that control over the hardware and the entire supply chain?
Or will it be Tesla's lead in software, the AI, the user experience, and that established charging network?
Okay.
Who's better positioned to dominate the fleet market of the future?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question we'll be watching unfold for years to come.
Absolutely. This was a really great deep dive. And honestly, thank you, our listener, for sharing these sources and letting us really get into the weeds on these arguments.
Yeah, really fascinating material. Thanks for sending it our way.
If you enjoyed this analysis and you want a shortcut to understanding the forces shaping our world, make sure you hit follow or subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss our next deep dive.
We'll see you then.